Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Dr. Jeff Bonk.
Why are you laughing? What did you expect? You guys ready for some fun? Ready to enjoy the day and learn a little something and spend some science? Let's go, right? So we're going to talk about foodies today, right? Foodies and dentistry. But we talked, Frank gave us a really inspirational speech earlier, and Frank is our inspirational leader, exceptional teacher. But Frank once said that if you, I guess that didn't come up. Frank once said that you shouldn't talk, there's three things you shouldn't talk about in dentistry, and that's politics, religion, and bonding. But because nobody can agree on that, Jeff Bruscher was lucky yesterday, but we can agree on food. So let's talk about food. So food in dentistry is important. We love food, right? So what is food? So foodie, began in 1985. It was coined by Gail Green, a New York Post writer, and then Paul Levy, a food critic in England. And they coined that term as a point of mockery, people that were really invested into food, too much food. But that became an entity where people start to think, food is really important to them, right? A refined interest in food, right? You appreciate the experience when you go to a fine restaurant. You're intrigued about the ingredients, right? You want to know how it tastes. And food has a positive impact on our lives. So that's what a foodie is, right? Now, if we relate that to dentistry, we use universal adhesive all the time. That's our go-to material that we have. So how does a foodie relate to universals? It relates to it almost in the same way. Exceptional adhesion. We look for a real strong bond. We understand the importance of protocols. Jeff Bruscher talked yesterday about the importance of following the science, following the directions. It's really important if you want a strong bond. Universals have unique chemistry. There's ingredients in there that make them different than some of the other adhesives that we had. And so we also get stronger bonds, stronger longevity. So we can relate all this stuff to food, okay? And so with that, we're going to talk about some foods, right? And so let's talk first about a burger, right? Everybody loves a burger. It's not just any old burger. It's the 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion on a sesame bud, right? The McDonald's Big Mac, right? We all had Big Macs. We all eat Big Macs. I don't eat them anymore. But there's something special about a Big Mac, and it's the special sauce, right? That special sauce is important in terms of what is the ingredient that makes that dentistry different, right? And in universals, the special sauce is 10 MDP. Greg talked about it earlier today. Jeff talked about it yesterday. MDP is a special ingredient. What's it do? It's an acidic functional monomer. That means it affects the tooth. That's a chemical you put on the tooth. There's going to be some effect from that. That effect is going to release calcium, and it's going to use those ions to actually incorporate into the bond and create a stronger bond. Most universals have it. So you guys know this. I mean, it's something that's fairly common. But we want to take advantage of some of these things. Now, this quote is a really, really good quote because I think it's related to what we talk about. Cooking's like painting or writing a song, right? It's how you combine the flavors, the ingredients, or the music, right? That sets it apart. Ingredients are important. How those ingredients are mixed are really, really valuable to what we do and what we're trying to learn, right? So if we look at Generation 4, adhesive techniques from a number of years ago, 3 bottles, 3 steps, etchant, dentin primer, adhesive. So we knew in each of those bottles a specific ingredient. We knew that if we mix those, we're going to get a very precise outcome from that. However, when we go to universals, there's multiple ingredients in that bottle. Most importantly, for that bottle to be a single body ingredient, it has to have excess water, excess monomer. Okay, and so if we have those excess materials, we need to manage those really, really well. So in a plate of spaghetti, right, we want to make sure that we get a good flavorful outcome. That's really what we're after. So we have to apply these materials effectively and apply them well. What's the application technique we need? We need to make sure we use selective etch on the enamel. We pick the universal adhesive we're going to use, and ultimately we apply that adhesive appropriately. We apply it in agitated increments, and we apply it in multiple coats. Really, really important. So we work that material into the tooth. So if we look at this and we look at spaghetti, we can compare spaghetti straws to the tubular orientation of dentin, right? So when you compare these two things, it's really quite similar. Now, take those spaghetti straws, apply your adhesive, or boil that spaghetti, and what do you end up with? You end up with a matrix of fibrils that are unsupported. You end up trying to adhere materials to a matrix of material that's really challenging to do. Why? Because there's so much water and monomer stuck in that. So if we don't do it well, it's really important. So do you want thin, watery, tasteless spaghetti, a poor bond? Or do you want something that's robust, something that's flavorful, something that's going to adhere for a long, long time? That's what we're trying to do. So we need to air dry. We need to make sure we follow these protocols. Jeff Bruscia talked about using some heat on top of that. We need to do this well in order to be effective in what we're trying to do. Okay, so let's go to some lasagna. Everybody likes lasagna? Lasagna, let's talk about how lasagna is made. Hopefully it will come up. It may not, but we'll see. So lasagna is made in increments, right? So we use a layer of sauce, we use a layer of cheese, a layer of noodles, and we just repeat, right? We're building this layer, right? Is lasagna very good when it comes out of the pan? No. The important thing about lasagna is lasagna al forno. We put lasagna in the oven. What happens when you put it in the oven? All those layers coalesce, all those layers come together, and we end up with a product that has, again, robust taste, very flavorful, very thick, very good, right? And that's exactly what we do when we talk about nano-layering, right? Those ions interact when you agitate that material, you air dry that material, you start the chemistry, and then you light cure on top of it. Suddenly we get that three-dimensional layer, just like lasagna. So sure, we want to pay attention to how we use these materials and how effective they can be. We should skip to dessert. So let's go to crème brûlée, and we know about crème brûlée and how that works, right? So we flame crème brûlée. Why do we flame crème brûlée? Because it immediately cures on flame, right? So it's called touch cure activation. Some of these newer universals, some of them that you see on the screen, have new chemistry in them, faster initiators, some other materials that are in them that cause, if you use the appropriate or the system together between the adhesive and the resin, that material will cure on contact. What does that really mean? We get a really hardened layer, we get a really tight margin, really fast margin, and we don't have to worry as much about blood, saliva, crevicular fluid, right? So this new technology we're going to see more of. We want to take advantage of that technology when we can, so we know that it's out there. And finally, we can talk about Mexican wedding cookies, right? Or snowball cookies. For some reason, my slides are not coming up so well. Okay, but snowball cookies can be related to zirconia. Zirconia is one of the most important materials we use. Again, Greg talked about its importance in single-wing pontics. Most of you use some form of zirconia in your restorations, right? But we need to treat zirconia properly. So how do these cookies relate to that? Okay, the way it's done is that if we set up our zirconia well, we use specific primers to prime it, we can get great adhesion, we can get good, solid connections to the teeth and to the tooth structures, and that's what we need to do, and those primers have 10 MDP. So the way to do it, as Greg talked about earlier, is we need to sandblast it. We need to use APC, as Greg discussed, right? We need to use aluminum oxide particles to prepare that surface, activate that surface. But you can see by the restorations in front of you, it's very difficult to see, did we appropriately aerabrate those restorations, or did we not? So how can we use some visualization to get an idea of how active is that surface? So go back to your cookies, right? And you say, if the cookie dough is at aerabrated crown and I drop that cookie in a pile of aluminum oxide, is that material going to attach well? And so you can see in these images the difference between polished aluminum or polished zirconia versus activated zirconia. We can see how well that works and how that cookie plays into that aspect. So with that, you guys, if you take advantage of some of these thoughts, some of these ideas, you guys can be universal foodies, right? You guys can understand now better. Bring dentistry to life. It's so hard in our small little environments, especially with our assistants, to explain to them, what are you trying to do? These little bottles, are they just bottles of water? No, they're important chemicals and chemistry that needs to be done. And if we can relay some of this stuff to some things that people can put their hands on, that you can make them foodies, you can make them a better assistant, you can make them a better team. Okay? So with that, I've actually provided you guys with some recipes. Actually, the ladies in the back, when you leave, some recipe cards that talk about the recipes I've talked about and some of the science behind it. So please take advantage of taking care of that. And before I leave, I'd like to thank the people that really make a difference, my executive chef, Bob Winter, and some of my sous chefs that helped put this together, my wife and some of the other team here at Spear. So anyway, this has really been fun. I've really enjoyed it, and we got to have a little levity in this place. So with that, thank you.